carries showed so far from Bilibili.
Wonder what Peyz... I feel like this comp auto-locks Peyz into wanting to maybe, you know, sync up with Scout sort of power spike timeline. So you're thinking third-ish item around Azir as well. What champions fit that kind of profile? You would think like Xayah if you want the safety. Smolder's still up there and available if Peyz wants to lean on that. Kaisa can kind of scale. Yeah, into a short-range comp too. So now we know the 2 support bans came Zhuo's way, so Peyz is really going to have his pick of the litter here on what support he wants to fit into this comp.
We're just getting rid of all the primary engaged supports, like all the premier ones. I mean, Rakan, now we have the Nautilus. Kai'Sa's the champion that's going to be banned here. So for BLG, still a lot of options. I think a Lucian on first is fine, but you look at how many tanks. I've actually been a really big fan of the Kraken Slayer on Lucian. We've been seeing a little bit pop up here and there. It does mean that your first item spike is a little weaker, or that your first item spike is a bit more powerful, but you're a little bit weaker on second and third. So I'm going to go ahead and take away that Alistar that I mentioned. And for JDG, they still need a little bit of damage from the bottom lane.
I understand Corki definitely answers a lot of the damage issues and will scale well kind of next to the Azir. I do just worry about this Corki playing into an Alistar running at him, the curtain call, a Skarner coming and grabbing his short range there. I'm curious how this fits in, but Corki Rel is a very, very potent bottom lane combo, but you're not a fan of.
Corki Rel can be super dangerous in the laning phase. I mean, level 2, these guys can run you down. Honestly, level 1 with the ability to use the crash down can be a kill, or at least a summoner spell very early on. But the end of the Alistar matchup, I think that On has way too many ways of stopping this engage. We need to see Xun and Zhuo playing in tandem together. They have a composition that works really well around playing around 2 items. They're going to spike incredibly hard. Any early dragons they can grab are going to be great. BLG want to take this game late, and we did not get to really talk about game time. I know we had a very fun graphic setup for this. BLG have not won a game, or they've won 1 game out of 6.
Yes.
Going anywhere past 40 minutes. I don't think you want to get into the situation with a Sivir on your team.
I do like the Sivir, though, seeing that Corki Rel bottom lane. Yeah, here you can go. Here we go. You get to see the eloquent. I love when we can get the Michael Scott memes going in here. But yeah, this is I think it was put well as there's a Goldilocks zone here in BLG games, it feels like.
Yeah, 30 and 40 minutes. The fact that in their second round robin, their average game time increased by 4 minutes is really insane. By the way, if you wanted to know the sample size, first round robin was 15 games. We're not done with the second round robin, but they've played 14. So I feel like this is a apt comparison that you can make here. And obviously you can see that their average game time as well kind of increasing alongside the average game time of the entire league. Very, very difficult spot. There are a lot of avenues to play. Let's see if Bilibili can play around those first couple objectives. Dragon stacking, I think, is going to be very pivotal for them, whether or not they can try to keep the pace up against JDG scaling.
As we hit the rift here for a very important series for our 2 teams, momentum-wise for BLG and JDG, keeping their playoff hopes alive.
You see what I mean? You can't hear them. I don't know what's going on. The Beijing crowd, they're getting done dirty. Because I've loved them every time we've come to the JDG arena. But I don't know what happened halfway through Split 3. We just randomly lost the ability to hear the crowd. Which makes me very sad.
It is very unfortunate. Wow. Hey, okay. Analytics are in love with JDG this game. I've rarely seen the line stay one color the whole game.
I don't think I usually ignore this, so this is my first time seeing that. I can guarantee that.
Okay, so the statistics, the AI, what as Cubby likes to call it, definitely backing the JDG comp that I do have some concerns with as we get to see some of the rune choices here. I think Elk picking Sivir here is massive. I think mainly because it should nullify, if you're positioning correctly, Elk and On, the power of this Corki Rel, and you should be able to kind of coast into a safer spot mid-game.
Is that level 1 we were talking about? And On does take a pretty massive trade, but could have gone worse if Zhuo had actually landed the crash down.
They survive now. It is very fun, though, that we have this matchup, right, where it's the nullifying power of an Alistar and a Sivir by deleting waves into a Corki Rel, because you highlighted it well, all coming in this matchup. We felt like bottom lane 2v2, Elk and On are going to be much more, not just aggressive, but should have been much more successful, but they've kind of drafted against that identity.
Oh, On! Let's go. Showing a little bit of the mechanics there. Gets the headbutt and cancels out the crash down. Now, both junglers are heading down to the bottom side of the map, and while I would say that for what Shadow needs to do in this game, he's just here to protect his lanes, Shun actually can play a little bit more aggressive. Poppy is going to have so much early damage and actually has opted into the phase rush, so really wants to get into fights and then immediately peel back out and give his team a little bit more space to work with.
Both those junglers likely could intersect here towards this bot side Crab. Scout going to get an early ward down as well. They should line up just about the same time as that Crab spawning, so bottom lane priority is going to become a pretty big part of if we see any skirmish happen in this bot side river.
I do think that BLG should be able to grab it. I mean, you have Sivir, right? Shun's actually going to skip his 6th camp, see if he can make any kind of action happen here. Zhuo's looking.
Alright, they already got On kind of trapped up here. He burns the heal first. He's going to flash, get away from the wall into the headbutt, but On should be slowed up and taken down. Peyz is going to grab first blood. Shadow's just a little bit too late here to find a response, even though Elk has lethal tempo going. Elk has to be very careful how far he extends himself forward. BLG look like they don't want to stop pushing. They're going to let Peyz out, and they're going to give away that first blood for very little.
Ooh, and this might turn into double scuttle here for Shadow, because Shun still has to do his Krugs, and by the time he finishes this, look at where On is moving. On is moving immediately towards the top side. Maybe has to even kind of correct his pathing, because, I mean, Peyz wanted to catch that last wave, otherwise he would have missed about a wave and a half here under the turret. A nice advantage. It was the first blood going over to JDG, but Shadow is going to be a little bit ahead of his counterpart and getting that level 6.
That's a pretty critical ultimate, as it really should help this jungle matchup here for Shadow. I'm curious to see if we have a swap spot here too, as Bin has gotten a couple waves under Xiaoxu's turret and got the reset coming across from Elk. Looks like he's just going to go back bot side, so BLG not going to initiate a swap.
Yeah, Peyz being stuck under his turret. He needs to be very careful about how he plays this. When you're playing against Sivir, finding timers to go back to base is really, really key, because of the fact, you know, we've talked about it every single time we see a Sivir, just her ability to be able to clear waves. We're going to be a little late to this for now. Obviously, Rumble will probably be looking for a teleport coming up soon, but Zhuo not only heading towards the top side to help out Shun, also to pull the wave and protect it. Seems like still. Let's see if Porky's able to grab this scuttle, or grab this cannon. Okay, so he does. Thank you to Zhuo.
That's the way to make your AD carry happy right there, is to save him from a cannon. Was asking to see if BLG would go for the swap, and I forgot the fact we have a Scion in the game, so JDG is obviously going to be the one that want to initiate that first. Is Elk is going to help out his jungler, tracking Jun a bit more towards his clear, gets that late ward down. Dragon is up and available, but like I talked about in the last series, especially from these group ascent teams, and most importantly, okay, Scout got the flash out of Knight there. Hold on. Is he back?
That is really good. That is exactly what we need to see. We don't usually see this very early on. Like, Scout should be fine, but, I mean, being able to force that flash does mean that a Poppy can be very dangerous when we talk about playing on Grubs, and I think BLG want to be the team that get these Grubs spawning in 2 minutes. Taking that away from an Azir who's going to get gold on a side lane and hit these turrets can be very, very good about impacting JDG's potential pace in this game.
Shadow maybe looking for a play to punish this Scion. It's hard to cut through this health bar. Good headbutt pulverize On, gets him back though, and there's no angle for Xiaoxu to just ult his way out of this. Shouldn't even expend the flash here, really. He is just gold. Given over to Elk on a silver platter there, as BLG are on the board.
And Rumble is catching a huge wave on top side. So now they're going to execute the swap. It's going to be Zhuo with his spellbook teleport, picking up this wave. They're going to move themselves back into the bottom side. Maybe this opens up a timer for JDG to go for the Dragon. Yes, Xiaoxu will not be here, but BLG, they don't exactly have the perfect spot for them to start this up. And again, Knight does not have flash, so Scout's going to get mid-wave. Let's see how they contest for this upcoming objective.
Well, though, it's going to catch both bot laners backing, but On flicks him back towards his team there. Zhuo's going to flash back, but the Impale is here for Shadow. And Zhuo getting himself caught here, like we talked about, a huge pain point for both of these supports.
Well, BLG thought, okay, look, we could have potentially made this, you know, if they're going to waste our time, we could start the Dragon. Instead, it's just going to be Shadow getting another Scuttle Crab. And a pretty good advantage here for BLG. The first 2 kills of the game, or they got 2 kills for themselves, and both of them onto Elk, who is starting to prove himself as the best AD carry once again here in the LPL. He has been so consistent for this team. You think about his stats going into this season, he is first in the league for gold per minute and second in DPM. Just an absolute amazing pace that he is setting for himself as one of the more maligned players, I think, throughout the years when you look at him in previous spots here for BLG.
My sweet LPL English mod team, I'm sorry for what all just caused in the Twitch chat with that statement.
Look, he's been underrated. You could say last year,
No,
it's
I
like,
agree
okay,
with
well,
you.
he had Bin and yeah, but I'm saying, like, Bin and Knight last year, for sure one of the, like, 2 best players in the entire world. And it's very easy to look like a great AD carry when you're Knight and Bin as your soloing team.
Yeah,
That's just a stimulus package. It happens. But this year, where they haven't been as solid,
Oh, Scouts. Okay. Flick back onto Knight. Problem is JDG. They're looking for the play to flash forward onto Shu, and they grab Knight. Scout doing some heavy lifting in the early game with this Azir. Gets Knight knocked down.
and he polishes 2 solid plays onto Knight before that flashes back up. JDG were already starting up the grubs. This solidifies their ability to grab this. And now, Scout's on the bottom side of the map. He's under 0 threat. He's going to catch this wave. Knight has to answer him on the bottom side of the map. Otherwise, 3 grubs Azir picking off turret plates. And they get the flash from Shadow. JDG's early game this time around, looking clean.
Putting some new life into a team that's been such a sore spot in LPL conversations here. As much as we've talked about a lot of pain points for JDG, you know, some of the roster swaps, it's just a factual statement that if Scout can return to form, a lot of the other ailments of JD Gaming will start to go into the wayside.
All right, BLG, they're going to make a heavy play in the bottom side. You can already see that On is making his way and starting to put down vision. Has spotted Shun on the Raptors. Wonder if this is going to be any contest. Just with Shun starting his red, he still has jungle camps. This should be BLG's objective, and I like the focus that they're putting towards the bottom side of the map, mostly just to help Knight rotate down in this bottom side and take control. But Azir's going back up into the up into mid lane, so I think a really good allocation of resources going on through for JDG.
I want to just keep tracking how Bilibili Gaming best utilize the true mid-game power of this Sivir, which is moving over and creating wave issues. That's why Sivir is such a powerful and, in some aspects, annoying champion to play against. Is no matter what play you're making across the map, if you're JD Gaming, Elk is always going to make waves such a pain point. And like you talked about early, with it already being a 2-0 Sivir, Cole should be completed not too far along. I feel like JD Gaming need to make some sort of proactive play to kind of shut down the scaling AD carry on the other side, as their own AD carry gets caught and has to lose his flash.
Peyz, a lack of discipline there. You have no vision on the bottom side of the map. Your support is near mid lane. Jungler also just reset and went top side. You have to play with some respect to your opponents there. So losing his flash, a pretty costly mistake, but there's no objectives to play for the next 4 minutes, so Knight still has flash. They're going to try to check. Okay.
Maybe see if they can at least get the flash out of Knight, but he's pretty disciplined to just hold on to it, knowing the wave is going to block a lot of Peyz's damage there. So Knight going to take a decent chunk, but he's got TP, and he'll catch this wave uncontested.
Yeah. For the most part, I think it is just JDG trying to see if they can get a recall in for Peyz. If not that, then get a little bit more vision to protect him. Scout.
Ooh, okay, Scout waits for On to go in, then throws him under the turret. That forces the Unbreakable Will out. Shadow over the wall going to come in next. Ro does not have Madness, so remember, there's no ultimate here. There is Impale for Shadow if he wants it, but I like the patience knowing that Elk isn't going to bust through any of these health bars at this point in the game.
Wait a minute, no flash and a teleport behind from Knight? Can they make this play? Shadow is in the area as well as On.
Okay, Shadow falling behind Zhuo. Peyz Not going to get flicked back, but he
my.
does get stunned. Barrier down. Shadow should set the kill up, and Knight's able to grab it.
The original part of that play was just to try to steal away Shun's camps, and that seems like that's still going to be the case here. Knight's now going to get a plate for himself on the bottom side, and it is going to be the Raptors going over to Shadow. They get the teleport eventually from Xiaoxu. But JDG are now a little bit behind the curve. They're going to have some gold issues. It's going to be Elk even clearing a mid lane wave.
Yes.
And another plate for himself.
This is what I was talking about, Alk, right? Is JDG... Not saying these plays are bad, not saying these looks are bad, but every time you go away from Elk, which is most of the time mid lane, he's just going to get a bit more out of these pushes than any other AD with this Sivir. And it's going to become a problem. We talked about how this comp really works well for a Sivir scaled up later in the game, even if BLG are not the best 40-plus minute team. Feel like JDG really have to find a way to slow this Sivir down sooner rather than later.
What this game comes down to, and what most League of Legends games come down to, is resource allocation. So watching Scout continuously dodge ganks as well as create opportunities for his team is keeping them in a really solid spot. The one thing that I will note, we're getting closer to that dragon spawning, and with Herald on the same timer as this objective, watching how JDG moves Scout around the map and get him gold is really important. Whoa?
Whoa, caught up a little bit too far forward again. He's going to have to commit the Magnet Storm. We talked about in the pre-show how a pain point for both these teams has been their support's brashness with their health bars, and it's about the second time I've seen Zhuo a bit too far forward.
I mean, Zhuo was already a really questionable move onto this team when we saw him move from... Scout. Okay, that's unfortunate. He still has his ultimate, and he has multiple members on his side of the map. So, again, a good look. This time around, though, was not mechanically as clean.
Knight's starting to understand that Scout isn't messing around as much in this matchup. Able to avoid that Shuriman shuffle, as we like to call it here. Looking forward, though, we've got the Rift Herald in about 45 seconds, spawning just about in time with this second Ocean Drake. It's been a bit delayed. Want to see some big items if they can come through on either side. Knight gets his Archangels completed by this point. Should be a Seraph pretty soon.
Should be Nashor's here for Scout when he recalls, and he has a TP advantage over Knight. Wonder if they're going to be willing to play for this. Honestly, okay, they're going to use a TP now. He's going to get to this wave at the same time as Knight, but the rest of his team is playing towards bottom side. So is Scout going to stay in this lane and look to use some of those grubs, or more likely, he's going to move into mid lane and give JDG some flexibility as to which objective they want to play for? Xiaoxu just uses ultimate, though. He's not going to have any impact on this fight.
No TP, no way to hold forward. Vin has TP advantage, and his Rumble has been the best of the best, in my opinion, when it comes to the LPL. Most importantly, I've been so impressed on how there's been multiple drafts I've seen from BLG where we come away like, oh, where's the setup for the Rumble Equalizer? It doesn't matter with this guy. He knows how to pinpoint position it, as we see BLG start up that Herald, and they're going to bring Vin in here with that TP advantage. JDG, we just got to let this one go.
How are we going to answer this, though? Because Xiaoxu's sitting in mid. Scout is going to continue to take another wave. BLG, though, they're going to move all 5 members into this play and look towards the Dragon. Scout's going to potentially get a full turret for themselves. I mean, they're just going to look in mid, take the first tier 1.
Okay. Yep. They're not slowing down. First break would give them feats of strength. A couple more autos to do it. On the hunt, Pop, they're going to go forward. Shun's forced to flash away from Shadow, who does whip the Impale. Peyz is able to Valkyrie himself back to safety. With mid in their control, they should be able to take this Dragon at the cost of that top tier 1 turret.
Getting the flash out from Shun is a great look. Thank you, Shadow, for getting yourself into the pit with this one. The Herald is going to go towards the bottom side, but this is solo gold here for Scout. I think that cannot go understated. Gold for Azir, getting him closer to his second item. A very, very good look. And we saw it at the very beginning in the game, and we'll see how he's able to utilize this. Scout is going for the Jack of all trades rune on the Azir, so he will have access to more ability haste later on into the game with more items that he already has. So his AP, he has attack speed, he has ability haste, he has flat movement speed and MR. He has a HP from the rune, so he's already at 5. He's getting closer to 7 here, and almost 10. So gonna keep track of that as we get further in the game.
One of my more favorite runes that League has introduced is that
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, for sure. So we'll look forward to your tracking of that so far, as I would like to revisit the tracking of Elk so far, as he is one of the largest gold leads over Peyz in this matchup. And with that Colt completed, I don't think he's far off from what I assume will be a Flicker Blade. Yeah, look, he like that. He sells the Colt and he completes the Flicker Blade. So Elk, again, I know I'm beating a dead horse a little bit here, Dimitri, but the Sivir being ahead of schedule is such a positive trend here for Bilibili.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Definitely helps them in their team fights. It's going to be a huge aspect of their damage because the solo lanes provide some of that immediate potential in a fight, but the Sivir, you let her rip in a fight, that's going to be a potential spell doom for JDG. Now, what did we talk about from draft? For BLG, while some of their scaling is going to be able to match the champions that JDG are going to have on 2 and 3 items, what they are going to be hopefully looking for is dragon stacking in this game. Already 2 dragons at the 18-minute mark, and with a third one potentially in 3 minutes, they can maybe start to feel a little bit strong. And they also have the feats of strength, which can give them minor edges, especially once that gunmetal grease for Elk is completed. Think about the movement speed that Sivir will have access to.
Movement speed buys more time, buying more time, more autos. And that is how you want to play out this Sivir. As Shadow looks for a play onto Peyz with the TP behind. He actually can't back out safely. He has to run his way back through mid lane. Unstoppable Onslaught, not going to hit on to Shadow there from Xiaoxu, but still a good look nonetheless, even if you do lose your top laner's TP.
And Otacon spawns on the bottom side of the map in a minute and a half. Don't expect for it to be started up quite so soon, but always have to think about 2 items going to potentially be landed here.
Shadow.
Oh, looking for Shadow.
Onto him. On is zoning out onto the very powerful Scout, and Peyz is cut off by a good equalize there from Bin. Knight not going to find the flick back, but is going to have to flash over the Drake pit as all of JDG have now crowded around that side of the map. Scout going to get engaged on by On.
This is
He's going to
fake.
throw
On
him
head.
back towards his team.
Woo!
Another ult being traded there, and nobody drops.
No Magnet Storm, and Shun also missed his Keeper's Verdict. BLG are going to play really heavy for this next wave. On has teleport thanks to the Unsealed Spellbook, but the mini wave's already gone. They can't play on this timer. They're going to lose out on gold. Scout can teleport. He can move up in the top side if he wants. Prioritize that gold. So important for them right now. They're overplaying because if they find a pick here as BLG, that makes the Otacon in 20 seconds very, very appetizing.
Bot tier 1 turret is going to finally go down, but let's see how much more value Scout can get out of this sort of blank time period before the Otacon spawning. As the Otacon spawns in the Dragon in a minute 20. This is a similar spot we saw happen in our first series where the team that is looking to go push the tempo. Dimitri gets benefited by the fact that both these 2 huge objectives in the next couple minutes window are on the same side of the map.
Yes. Very, very important. Kind of wish. I'm going to be sad when they remove Otacon in Split 3. It's really depressing. And we're going to get a map
Split 3,
change.
my friend.
You know what I mean. When we get to the third change, when we go to Demacia
yes.
and we get, I'm very depressed. Otacon has been a very fun objective, if not very overpowered. So it's going to be JDG taking control of the mid wave.
Knight without flash, caught out of position here. All's going to try and kite for him, but he's dead. Scout finds the first kill and gets the Emperor's Divide onto Shadow. Sure, he gets the Impale down, but there's nowhere to take these captors. Knight picked off and JDG pounce.
And now that's the Otacon, 2 members down. BLG have no way of fighting this. There's no ability for them to maybe push. They can try to go through mid lane with this Sivir, but by the time they get through all of this wave, the Otacon will already be gone. BLG, massive pick, and this comes from that fight we saw around this Tri-Brush. Knight losing his flash now turns into a huge lead here for JDG, and potentially more. I mean, the Dragon spawning now.
BLG, Honda was playing on walking the thin wire there. BLG aren't going to let this Dragon just go to the wayside. They have Knight TPing in too, but Shadow is just now leaving the fountain. Elk being able to really carefully split the spell shield on the first knockup. Shun is going to jump on top, but that's a huge Weaver's Wall coming across from Knight. Is going to keep Elk safe. The fight going a bit long here, so watch the Sivir gets caught here by Zhuo, but Elk just does too much damage, and JDG might have overstayed their welcome in this bot side river.
I think this should have just been them committing for the turret. Oh no! Barely do not catch out Scout. 3 Dragons now to BLG. Finally, they had their solo laners in position, and Elk, big time, Mr. Consistent, is able to keep them in this game. Now, Can they grab Soul in 5 minutes? This could have been a huge win for JDG.
This was almost so risky, though. What? This is, I just feel kind of icky calling this out. Knight getting picked.
Yeah, and
then
guys. Scout now. The ultimate to push them in. There's no room for BLG to really fight. I mean, right now, Rumble is hitting the mid-wave. And we get to take a look at this again. Elk, so dangerous. Yes, he does get ulted, but the cleanse to be able to help. And then he just rips apart this fight. This is what BLG's composition can do in optimum situations. But how often are you going to get that kind of spot where Sivir can just free fire into your backline, when there's a Poppy, when there's this Azir and Corki who are able to fire away? There's the AI. The AI has now fixed itself. It is not only just JDG. BLG are slowly starting to ramp an advantage for themselves. And I have to imagine it's because they've already found the first 3 dragons.
Without a doubt. It's just such a massive win con. And you now got Elk, who's sitting on a huge chunk of gold with that Noon Quiver already completed. Expect that to be a shield bell, maybe to survive some of this extra burst. Oh, no. Actually, could be an LDR as well. 2 options there. Whatever can help the Sivir go best from front to back. But the spotlight really just is on how much time Elk can get in these fights going forward. We see some heroics from Scout with some pretty good stream and shuffles onto Knight, notably. Shun has been trying to mark Elk, but he is now going to be flashless while Elk has flash. So at least for the time being, I think it is a little bit more difficult than usual for JDG to even try and pounce Elk, and it also relies on the fact that he's not in a great position, in which virtually this entire game he's been positioning at pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah. I am looking right now at Scout. We talked a little bit about that Fate is Ashes. He is still sitting on 7. He has not gotten any items that are going to give him more ability haste. So kind of unfortunate there. He's going to probably stay at 7 until he hits his 3rd item. And with him being Fated Ashes, I imagine this is going to be that Bloodletter's Curse that allows him... No, it's going to just have to be Leandre's. That's really terrible. I hate Leandre's right now. He has almost no AP in this build right now. And that's that LDR that you were mentioning for Elk. So big power spike, I think, coming in for BLG.
It's only going to get worse. Now it's Infinity Edge time here for the Sivir as well. Weird little sequence there we saw. Both our teams positioning everybody around mid lane, trying to get set up for this Baron. But I like Scout shifting up towards the top side, saw that wave could be in their possession.
Where is Zhuo?
Where is my support? Where is Zhuo? He has some Magnet Storm crash down flash all to get out, and he's completely caught. An absolutely head-scratching play from JDG's support, and it might cost them even more. Peyz has to flash away from Shadow. Elk is flashing forward on the Sivir, and he's going to get the kill onto Peyz. Elk has got killer instinct down right now in this series.
And that's just Baron. That is Baron for free going over to BLG. Now, what the hell is Zhuo doing there? Like, he has teleport in 5. Are they going to actually make a play for this on the side of JDG? I don't think you have to. You have Baron spawning in a minute and a half. Do not ruin this game right now. Zhuo's going to make a really far... Okay, I think this is very fake, guys.
Baron's gone. There's nothing to fight for, and how you see Shun get punted into all of BLG. If Elk remains untouched, I don't think there's anything for JDG to do with it. It's going to turn that LDR right towards Xiaoxu, who is not taking enough to deal with it. Flashes out. Keeper's Verdict's going to punt out only Knight. Elk out of position for now. Bin does get exhausted. But Bilibili Gaming exercising some caution of their own, knowing they don't need to fight. They got the Purple Worm down for themselves.
All right, 50 seconds. Let's get our recalls in. BLG find themselves on the precipice of really being able to take it against JDG, where Scout still untouched in a lot of these fights. He has not died. He finished his 3rd item. We talked about supports having such a big impact. It's going to be positive and it's going to be negative. Zhuo thought he had an angle here, thought he was going to be able to look for something, but BLG, they fade back into their side of the map, and as soon as Knight finds this, Zhuo knows he needs to leave. Usually we're on. BLG's support as a big problem point for this team. He has the highest amount of average deaths, or the 2nd highest average deaths, and the highest amount of average assists in a game in the entire league. But Zhuo, a pretty perplexing move from LNG, has been the point of huge amounts of criticism as we move into sole objective for BLG.
No TPs available for JDG, really hurting them right now. They would love to try and maybe fix top wave for their advantage, to get this Dragon a bit of a tougher spot. They can't do that. Baron sending down mid-wave minions, and now it's BLG. They're right on top of the dragon here. Weaver's Wall comes down from Knight. Xun is on the wrong side of it, does have flash. He's going to have to go for the 50-50, and he will steal it away. Xun saves JDG away from a Chemtech Soul. How mad are Bilibili about it? Xun going to flash out of the pit. Shadow trying to hold the front line as they get the pick on Zhuo, and now On the Hunt is popped in. Oh boy, look out for the ripping and roaring Sivir. That is Elk just to run over the rest of JDG. Xun and Scout can only leave the dead corpse of Xiaoxu there, and Dragon comes at a price for JD Gaming.
You saw the damage there at the bottom. Elk with 5,700 DPS in that fight. Xun's probably going to just die, or at least give up his red buff here. Now Talia has teleported to the top side. BLG are going to explode in gold. They lost the objective, but with Baron still on their backs for the next 30 seconds, they're going to grab bottom lane, mid lane, and top lane tier 2s. They're going to go all the way up to 7,000 gold in the lead.
And hey, guess what, guys? It's me, Slayer. Once again, ready to talk about Sivir. This is going to be an IE on back. Good luck, JD Gaming.
Here it is. Let's see it. And we're going right into a replay. I love it here. I mean, Xun's still in range, so this Talia wall is not perfect, but how are we buying space? The whole idea around this JDG composition is you have a Poppy and a Rel to give Peyz and Scout free time to hit. Scout is not hitting during all of this, and Zhuo dies way too quickly for this to ever exist. Not even using the Poppy ult early enough for this team to actually properly play out team fights. I feel like the jungle and support for JDG are not giving this team enough avenues to play. Scout, I mean, Xun almost getting caught there. He's going to use the steadfast presence to get him out of the way, but JDG, man, now 8,000 gold ahead of their opponents, and I mean, they don't have the soul, but I don't think it matters. I mean, Baron's going to spawn in another 2 minutes, and because of the desync in the spawn timers there, BLG are really, really strong, and it's not even the Infinity Edge like we thought. He didn't have enough gold, instead opts for the pickaxe and gets those gunmetal greaves, so even more MS available to this Sivir.
And that IE will be there by the time Baron comes around, for sure, with the way he's cutting down waves. And you talked about how you want to see more playmaking from Zhuo and Xun, which, you know, they haven't necessarily been able to access so far. How do you find it now? Because I think Poppy and Rel are two champions that are so indicative on nice flank angles, looking for, you know, forcing fights on multiple fronts. Now, it's so hard to ever get in position for any of this stuff because you have waves just getting shoved down your throat constantly. Knight's going to have TP and Weaver's Wall back up. Elk deletes these mid waves. Bin deletes bot side waves. This 1-3-1 is going to make it so hard for JG. You can see they're just clumping up around brushes trying to check if somebody accidentally walks into them.
You do have a Zir turret available here for Scout. That should give them some breathing room around playing around this mid lane wave. Big thing for me is the fact that BLG have not given up this mid-tier one. It's an objective bounty that's available for JDG, but would, I think, open up a little bit of time for the waves to be in a little bit better of a spot, but I think you hammered it home very perfectly there. This Sivir is causing way too many issues, and Elk still has all of his summoner spells, and he hasn't died this game, so kind of has to be a now or never moment. Baron spawns in a minute. 45 seconds after that will be the dragon, and another soul potential here for Bilibili.
How much space can you buy JDG for Scout here? He is your win con. He has 3 items done. Might even, I don't think he's going to get to this Void Staff he's likely looking for last in time. But it's a lot of pressure on Scout's shoulders. They're going to get the Zir turret up here to make sure to stop the intense pressing of waves down this mid lane, but they still have to walk their way back towards this Baron pit that is very, very dark.
JDG, who I think BLG moved a little too quickly though. They still have another mid lane wave that they can play with. JDG summoned the Azir turret. It is slowly starting to whittle away. You can see that BLG, they want to play on this wave. This is the most important one.
On! Holy moly, goes in first. Equalizer down, not going to get a lot of value out of that. They've at least sectioned off the 2 takes away from the rest of Team Keeper's verdict. Gonna fall completely flat there from Xun. So a couple ults off the board from both sides. Not a ton of value, but BLG a little bit more healthy.
They might be better with HP, but I think they're a lot weaker when you think about their combat effectiveness. There's no ult for Elkanon, no flash available for this Alistar, and there's no equalizer for Bin. So I think JDG have a little bit more time and space to play with. Keeper's Verdict, like you did mention, did miss, and there's no flash here for Peyz in this upcoming fight. So watching these 280 carries and watching if Scout can finally find a team fight for him to win, where he's able to be that Emperor of Shurima and bring JDG a first game victory. Bin right now has teleport, and he's doing Dragon by himself.
Oh, this is sneaky. Their stall game is in here for BLG as they eventually landed into their Goldilocks zone of game wins. And here comes Weaver's Wall from Knight. Peyz and Scout on one side, the tanks on the other as Baron resets. Remember, Bilibili, they're buying time. This is all a ruse. JDG Gaming, where is Bin? He is not here, so you have to force fight. Flash forward from Shoot, gets right on top of Knight. Sivir is still protected as Max Storm comes down, and Elk can start raining in this damage that JDG Gaming have no answer for.
Scout!
Scout goes after him with a huge Shuriman shuffle, but he's gone too far forward on his own, and Peyz cannot step up past this equalizer. Scout falls, Peyz is down. You got your golden goose, JDG Gaming, but it's too little, too late. Ace and game one over to Bilibili Gaming.
Talia now teleports to the bottom side. That was as good as it was going to get there for JDG, but it's still not enough. They don't have the grubs, but they got a huge minion wave, and they can also have a mid wave if they don't have enough time to finish this game. Bilibili with an immaculate team fight around the mid lane finally close out this first game.
All of that went down without Bin. He TP's in at the final hour to save that team fight. Shun should respond here, but there's no one to clear out this wave or make this even contestable. Bilibili Gaming are going to take a 1-0 series lead as they look to lock themselves in top 4, to lock themselves in to a third straight playoffs.
I'm glad that On and Shun are still having fun. Every time we've seen this matchup between these two guys, Shun obviously facing off against his former team of last year, always having a lot of fun, always some good laughs and some good banter between these guys, but a disappointing game. Honestly, I feel bad for Scout. He played a lot of these fights very well, but he has no front line. His jungle and support were not in great spots coming into this game, and we talked about AD carries being very important, that Sivir being kind of a lock and key for this game.
Yeah, I am excited to see the damage shards because I think Elk is about to pop off of them, like 4-dimensionally at this point, not 3-dimensionally. We talked about a lot of things we wanted to see going into this series. You mentioned the AD carries. We talked about Knight. We were happy for JD Gaming for what Scout put together here, but whenever this game looked like it was getting closer, I hate to kind of dogpile on one guy, but Zhuo, it just in the worst times, this guy just got caught, and it's been a pain, maybe the biggest pain point I would argue for JD Gaming this split.
I remember one of his first series coming into the team, he played this Nico, and he was just really off on his timings about when and where he would try to find fights. We're seeing this still. This is a problem that we very early on discussed coming into this move. Like, why is Zhuo the player that we're picking up from LNG of all places? Surely there's another support. I can't imagine that EDG are going to give up Palkia so early on,
Right.
but I'm baffled. I'm confused, and it doesn't seem like that was the fix that JDG needed, nor kind of maybe the boost that they were looking for. Maybe they saw all the other teams making roster swaps, and they were kind of winning. Like, okay, IG's doing well with Wei. BLG changed out their jungler, and they're looking great. Top Esports got a different support, and they look good. So maybe we can get in on that.
Did they forget that they already did that though? They already swapped a new support in, and I mean, it's like, oh, Wink wasn't here in Split 2, everybody. So Wink, I don't know. It is. I will say there were at least some positives to take away from this series for JD Gaming, but the positives, in my mind, you're gonna have to try and spin towards the play-ins, the way this series is going.
Yeah, remember, JDG, if they want to keep their game differential alive, at least for playing against IG and AL for a top 4 spot, they need to win a single game. It doesn't matter if they lose. If they do lose today, it will mean that kind of fate is out of their hands. They're hoping and expecting that AL or IG will lose one of their future series and potentially give them a leg up. Not to mention that they're also trying to face off against Weibo, which they will play twice to finish out their schedule. But very tough. The damage spread on this one, kind of disgusting. And finally we got a good game here from Scout, but it just was not enough. Also, taking a look at his Jack of all trades, after his second item, he stopped stacking. Once he got the Void Staff, or the Blighting Jewel, he did get Magic Penetration percentage, which gives him an 8th stat, but really hard depending on what your starting items are. You have to be very particular when you take this rune.
This fight from Elk was so wondrous. Just walking that tightrope. It's bias, AD carry bias here. My favorite thing to watch about competitive League of Legends. But speaking on that Jack of all trades in Scout and how much we propped him up, I want everyone to kind of, while all these plays come across, watch how much range and space Scout really gets to even utilize this kit that he was so far ahead in. Don't. You already saw Joel get caught. That's not the point that we need to make.
I want to see it again. I need to see this guy get caught.
D1 hating.
Look, he was. This is not supposed to happen to my boy Peyz. I spent all of Split 2 talking about he's a top level AD carry here in the LPL. Him and Leave, my two boys from the AD carry position, doing very well in Split 2, but now on different trajectories. Peyz feels like he always has to squeeze like water from stone to get anything done for JDG. I mean, Lee's been looking good, so I mean 50-50 on my players here,
going.
But this fight is such a depression. Just, man, Elk, the fact that he gets to walk up as this Sivir, beautiful stuff. He feels no threat, and even in this fight where he gets caught, it does not matter.
I mean, just look at all the damage he puts out on those tanks, those bouncing blades. Scout's such a nice hero play, but up until that TP, BLG were fighting 4v5, and it was still that close. So
JDG never found a fight in between that timer, because remember, it was, we're going to play on this mid wave. Okay, we're a little bit early as BLG, and we used all of our ultimates. We're like, okay, this should be a way for a small window where JDG could look for something. They had to commit. They either had to go towards top side and finish the Baron and force it, or look towards the bottom side, get on this dragon, and do something. But we never saw them commit to a play, and that might end up kind of biting them here in this series, where, I mean, Bin was doing dragon, and by the time he teleports, his ultimate is back up. So the fact that we couldn't punish like a 60 to 80 second window, really, really worrying. Especially as we get towards the end of the season. We are now 7 days away from the end of our regular split, going into play-ins, and JDG potentially are going to be looking to play a single best of 5. Elk earns his MVP. I think we're not scared about JDG in play-ins, because more likely they're going to be playing one of the, bottom of the top 4 for play-ins of Group Nirvana, but it's just after that becomes a little worrisome.
Because for JD Gaming coming into this calendar year, into Split 3, there are 4 LPL World spots on the line in a team with Xun, Peyz, and Scout. No matter who the other 2 have been at top and support, should not be missing Worlds. And that is why we are worried about them in playoffs, because if they bow out of playoffs, they bow out of Worlds. And, well, if they bow out of this next game, they are bowing out of top 4 and playoffs. Is that our reality? We'll have to see once we get into that Game 2 draft. Bilibili Gaming, JD Gaming, Game 2 coming to y'all's way after another break.